Yo, listen up. What happens when 20 years of loyalty in the Houston hip-hop game suddenly explodes into betrayal? Sauce Walka just put Johnny Dang on blast, and the tea is hotter than ever. For 2 decades, Sauce was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on chains, grills, and pendants, building Johnny Dang's reputation while keeping it all local. $500,000 chains, countless diamond grills. The man was basically a walking billboard for Johnny's jewelry empire. But here's the kicker. Sauce just discovered he was getting finessed. Allegedly, Johnny was selling lab-grown diamonds, CVD stones, as real, charging top dollar, while out-of-town rappers were getting free or discounted pieces just for flexing online. That's right, Sauce, a loyal Houston artist, getting treated like just another customer while celebrities got the VIP treatment. And it didn't stop there. Sauce just unveiled what he called the world's first permanent $1 million grill, saying on camera, "I'm taking out Johnny Dang's and putting in the Geos." Boom. That public comparison didn't just shake the streets, it shook an entire 200 million empire. And it gets even crazier. Jose Gio Mata, the jeweler who made the grill, used to work for Johnny, knew all his tricks, and went straight into competition. This isn't just about jewelry. It's about betrayal, money, respect, and the rules of loyalty in hip-hop culture. The streets are talking, social media is buzzing, and the fallout? Massive. Sauce Walka just reminded everyone that even the closest relationships can crumble when trust is broken, and in the jewelry game, that can cost millions. Alright, now that you know the streets are shook, let's break down exactly how a 20-year Houston jewelry friendship went nuclear. Sauce Walka didn't just wake up one day and decide to drag Johnny Dang online. This is decades of loyalty, money, and trust evaporating in real time, and the reasons are way deeper than anyone outside the game realizes. Back in the early 2000s, Sauce Walka was grinding in Houston, coming up in the local rap scene, making moves, and learning the streets. Johnny Dang was already starting to make a name for himself, but he was still that hardworking immigrant who had come to America with nothing but a dream. He hustled hard, building his jewelry game from flea markets to a multi-million-dollar empire, catering to the hottest rappers in Houston. And Sauce Walka was right there, investing his own money into Johnny's shop, buying chains, grills, and pendants like they were nothing, but it was anything but nothing. For 2 decades, Sauce was loyal. We're talking massive purchases, $500,000 chains, intricate diamond grills, hundreds of thousands spent on jewelry that not only elevated Sauce's image, but built Johnny's reputation. Every time Sauce walked out with a new piece, it was basically free advertising for Johnny Dang. The man became synonymous with Houston hip-hop bling because of artists like Sauce who trusted him with their money and their style. But here's where things got messy. While Sauce was paying full price, working to elevate Johnny Dang's brand, other rappers, particularly out-of-town celebrities, were allegedly getting special treatment. Free jewelry, discounted rates, VIP access, pieces that Sauce would have dreamed of getting but never did. And this wasn't just about jealousy or clout, it was about decades of loyalty being undervalued. Imagine putting in 20 years, building someone's empire, only to find out that your supposed family was giving others the perks you never got. That's exactly what Sauce felt. It all came to a head when Sauce unveiled the world's first permanent $1 million grill. He said on camera, and I quote, "I'm taking out Johnny Dang's and putting in the Geos. I'm going over the top, best of the best, biggest of the biggest." That public comparison didn't just set social media on fire, it directly challenged Johnny Dang's work, putting decades of business relationships under a microscope. And it gets even more intricate. The jeweler who crafted the $1 million grill, Jose Gio Mata, wasn't just any competitor. He used to work for Johnny Dang, learned his methods, his pricing, his supply lines, and then went straight into competition. From Johnny's perspective, this is a double blow. Not only is a longtime client publicly rejecting your work, but he's giving a multi-million-dollar project to a former employee who knows all your secrets. That's betrayal on 2 levels, business and personal. But Sauce didn't just go public because of ego or flashy diamonds. He revealed something that had been simmering under the surface for years: the alleged CVD diamond scandal. Sources claim Johnny Dang had been selling lab-grown diamonds, CVD diamonds, as real, charging top-dollar prices while giving preferential treatment to out-of-town stars. That's right. While Sauce, a loyal Houston artist, spent hundreds of thousands trusting Johnny Dang, other celebrities were getting freebies or discounted deals with the same stones. Now let's get into why that matters. CVD diamonds are chemically identical to natural diamonds, but worth a fraction of the price. A natural 2-carat diamond might sell for $20,000, while a lab-grown version could cost $3,000 to $5,000. When jewelers charge natural diamond prices for lab-grown stones without disclosure, it's not just shady, it's straight-up fraud. And according to the buzz on social media and insider sources, this practice wasn't isolated. It could have been systemic. This is the kind of revelation that shakes the hip-hop jewelry world to its core. Artists spend millions on jewelry not just for bling, but as investments, as symbols of status, and to elevate their brand. When someone they trust allegedly deceives them, it's not just business, it's betrayal of culture and trust. Sauce didn't take this lightly. He made it public, calling out Johnny Dang for failing the hometown loyalty test while catering to outside stars. To understand the stakes, you've got to realize what loyalty means in Houston. The hip-hop scene isn't just about music, it's about community. When you make it, you're supposed to uplift those who helped you get there. For Sauce, who spent decades supporting Johnny, discovering that VIP perks were going elsewhere was a slap in the face. It wasn't just a financial issue, it was cultural and personal. The timing couldn't have been worse for Johnny Dang. He was already under scrutiny for business practices, and now one of his most loyal customers was publicly calling him out. This wasn't some petty Instagram beef. It was the exposure of decades of alleged favoritism, deception, and pricing schemes. And Sauce made it clear he didn't want freebies or handouts. He wanted his money's worth and the absolute best. His $1 million grill wasn't just jewelry, it was a statement. Even more, Sauce explained that Johnny Dang had tried to limit his vision. Johnny wouldn't do nothing better than what I got in my mind, Sauce said. He wanted to give me something free that was way smaller than this. I don't want free, I want my money, and I want the best. That's the kind of energy that escalates a business dispute into a full-blown public controversy. And the streets noticed. Social media erupted. Fans and other artists started taking sides, debating who was right, who was wrong, and whether Johnny Dang's empire was built on loyalty or exploitation. Everyone from Houston insiders to rappers across the country weighed in. Some defended Johnny Dang, citing his legacy and craftsmanship. Others backed Sauce, highlighting the unfair treatment and alleged fraud. Now, beyond the drama, this story exposes how power dynamics work in the hip-hop jewelry industry. Long-standing relationships are tested when money, fame, and ego intersect. VIP treatment, exclusive perks, and the perception of status all play into how these businesses operate. But when those dynamics clash with loyalty and fairness, conflicts like this explode. And when they do, the fallout isn't just personal. It can affect careers, reputations, and even the wider culture. So, what does this all mean? Sauce Walka versus Johnny Dang isn't just a story about jewelry. It's about loyalty, respect, and the balance between business and community. It's a cautionary tale for artists, jewelers, and anyone navigating long-term professional relationships. You can spend decades building trust, but if the system values perception over loyalty, it can all crumble in an instant. We've set the stage: decades of loyalty, alleged betrayal, and the shocking public reveal of a $1 million grill that challenged a $200 million empire. Up next, we'll dive even deeper into the accusations, the insider allegations about lab-grown diamonds, and the explosive public fallout that shook Houston and the entire hip-hop community to its core. Right where we left off, Sauce Walka had just unveiled the $1 million grill, publicly comparing it to Johnny Dang's work, and the streets of Houston instantly erupted. But this wasn't just about flashy diamonds. It was about betrayal, loyalty, and a business empire shaken to its core. Once the grill reveal went public, social media went wild. Fans, rappers, and even jewelry enthusiasts weighed in. Tweets, Instagram stories, and YouTube comments blew up with speculation. Some fans praised Sauce for taking a stand and demanding the best, while others criticized him for publicly airing a 20-year business relationship. But one thing was clear, the situation was bigger than just two men arguing over jewelry. It was now about trust, loyalty, and fairness in a multi-million-dollar industry. Inside Houston's hip-hop community, the drama intensified. Artists and industry insiders started discussing Johnny Dang's alleged favoritism. According to sources, some out-of-town rappers had been receiving free or discounted jewelry in exchange for social media exposure, while Sauce, one of Johnny's longest-standing, most loyal customers, was paying top dollar. That fact alone fueled outrage among the local community. In Houston, loyalty isn't just a virtue, it's the foundation of business. But the tension didn't stop at hometown politics. Enter Jose Giomata, the former Johnny Dang employee who created Sauce's $1 million grill. Gio wasn't just a random jeweler. He had insider knowledge, techniques, supplier info, pricing strategies, and he used that to craft a grill that not only exceeded Johnny Dang's work, but also became a public symbol of the perceived betrayal. The streets were buzzing. Sauce didn't just switch jewelers. He went to Johnny's own former employee to get what he wanted. Johnny Dang quickly responded, posting a 4-part video series addressing the situation. He spoke directly to fans and Sauce, trying to defend his legacy and business practices. He stressed the hard work it took to build his $200 million empire from the ground up, his commitment to Houston artists, and the personal sacrifices he had made. But he also acknowledged that relationships, even long ones, can get complicated when money, fame, and ego intersect. Meanwhile, Sauce Walka doubled down. He clarified that this wasn't about disrespecting Johnny's craft or his achievements. It was about demanding the best and fair treatment, especially after decades of loyalty. "I don't want no free diamonds," Sauce said in an interview. "I want my money's worth. I want the biggest, the best, the top of the line." That statement only added fuel to the fire. People started framing the situation as loyalty versus business strategy, hometown respect versus empire expansion, and local artists versus celebrity favoritism. But let's talk about the CVD diamond controversy, because that's where things got really serious. Insiders alleged Johnny Dang had been selling lab-grown diamonds as natural stones, charging premium prices while selectively giving freebies to high-profile clients. That's a huge allegation in an industry built on trust and perception. For decades, artists have invested 6- and 7-figure amounts into jewelry that is as much a part of their image as their music. If the product isn't what they were told, it's more than just business, it's a personal violation. Word spread fast. Houston rappers were questioning every high-dollar purchase they had made with Johnny Dang. Was that chain worth $100,000, or was it a CVD diamond worth a fraction of that? The streets were abuzz with speculation, and Sauce's public statements brought more attention to an industry practice that insiders had whispered about for years, but rarely exposed openly. The fallout also hit Johnny Dang personally. Not only was his credibility challenged, but the incident revealed potential cracks in his empire. Employees and competitors saw opportunities. Giomata, by creating the $1 million grill, showcased that someone trained by Johnny could produce superior work and gain fame in the process. This sent shockwaves throughout Houston's jewelry game. Suddenly, loyalty wasn't enough. Skill, innovation, and the willingness to take risks were just as important. And while the drama played out on social media, there were private tensions behind the scenes. Sources say Johnny Dang had reached out to Sauce multiple times to smooth things over, offering meetings and potential collaborations. Sauce, however, was determined to make a public statement first. He wanted to show that loyalty alone doesn't guarantee respect or top-tier treatment. That stance made him a hero in the eyes of some fans, but painted him as confrontational in the eyes of others. Meanwhile, Houston's hip-hop scene debated the cultural implications. Artists emphasized the importance of supporting local talent and giving hometown figures preferential treatment, not just for business, but as a community value. Sauce's complaints resonated because they touched on something deeper, the idea that, in Houston, loyalty should come first. This wasn't just about diamonds, it was about respect, legacy, and accountability. At the same time, industry analysts started discussing the financial and legal implications. Charging top dollar for lab-grown diamonds without disclosure could be considered fraud if certificates were falsified or misrepresented. The controversy raised broader questions about transparency in the luxury jewelry market, especially within hip-hop culture. How many other artists had unknowingly overpaid? Were other jewelers also exploiting trust for profit? These discussions intensified the public's attention and positioned Sauce's reveal as more than just a personal grievance. It became a cultural moment. And as all this unfolded, the story reached its peak when Sauce Walka went public with his reasoning. He explained why he bypassed Johnny Dang for his $1 million grill, detailing how Johnny had tried to limit his vision. Sauce wanted the biggest, most extravagant grill possible. Johnny's offer was free, but smaller, less impressive, which Sauce refused. It wasn't about the money, it was about pushing boundaries and setting a new standard. That explanation humanized Sauce, showing he wasn't petty, he was strategic, ambitious, and demanding excellence. Social media was flooded with clips from interviews, tweets, and posts. Fans debated endlessly, was Sauce right to publicly expose Johnny Dang? Was Johnny justified in his business approach? And beyond the individuals involved, the conversation shifted toward industry-wide transparency. Artists now had a public example showing the need to verify purchases, understand materials, and demand documentation, a lesson many in the hip-hop jewelry market might not have considered before. By the time Houston's hip-hop community started weighing in, the drama had expanded beyond two men. The story became a cautionary tale about trust, loyalty, and the power dynamics in the luxury jewelry business. It was a reminder that decades of relationships, loyalty, and reputation could be challenged in a single viral moment. And in a culture where perception is everything, public exposure can carry as much weight as personal betrayal. The saga also illustrated a generational shift. Artists are no longer passive consumers. They are investors, entrepreneurs, and influencers who demand transparency. Jewelers who once relied on personal relationships and trust now face scrutiny, accountability, and social media backlash. Sauce's actions force the industry to reckon with evolving expectations. It's clear this isn't just a Houston story or a jewelry feud. It's a cultural lesson in loyalty, respect, and business ethics. Sauce Walka versus Johnny Dang has sparked conversations about fairness, transparency, and accountability that will echo throughout hip-hop for years to come. We'll dive into how the two men publicly reconciled, the Houston community's reaction, and the broader implications for hip-hop artists and luxury jewelers across the country. From scandal to resolution, the story is far from over and the lessons are still unfolding. After weeks of social media buzz, insider leaks, and viral commentary, the Houston jewelry and hip-hop scene reached a tipping point. Sauce Walka's public showdown with Johnny Dang wasn't just gossip. It had become a defining moment in the culture, highlighting loyalty, fairness, and business transparency in a multi-million-dollar industry. While fans debated online, the two men were quietly working behind the scenes. Johnny Dang, despite the public embarrassment, reached out to Sauce multiple times, seeking a face-to-face conversation. Sources reveal that Johnny understood the weight of a 20-year relationship and didn't want a decades-long bond destroyed over a public spat. At the same time, Sauce wasn't backing down. He wanted his point made, his grievances addressed, and, most importantly, a solution that acknowledged respect and fairness. Finally, at a Houston community event, the two icons met publicly. Cameras were rolling, and fans crowded around as they shook hands. There were smiles, but the tension was still visible. Both men spoke to the crowd, emphasizing the importance of loyalty, respect, and accountability. Sauce acknowledged Johnny's contributions to the Houston jewelry scene and his role in elevating hip-hop culture, while Johnny admitted that some missteps may have caused misunderstanding and resentment. This public reconciliation became a symbolic moment, demonstrating that even long-standing conflicts can be resolved with dialogue and mutual respect. But beyond the personal reconciliation, the saga left major industry ripples. Artists, jewelers, and fans began questioning business ethics in the hip-hop jewelry market. Many realized that high-dollar transactions, chains, grills, custom pieces aren't just about style. They're about trust, transparency, and accountability. Lab-grown diamonds, CVD, versus natural diamonds, pricing strategies, promotional perks, and preferential treatment for certain clients were now hot topics of discussion. Sauce's public stance forced the industry to reconsider long-standing practices that might exploit loyalty or take advantage of artists' trust. Houston's hip-hop community had its own reaction. Local artists praised Sauce for speaking out, noting that hometown loyalty should never be undervalued. Meanwhile, fans admired the maturity of both men in resolving their differences publicly. The resolution didn't erase the controversy. It validated Sauce's concerns while restoring Johnny's credibility, but it reframed the conversation from conflict to culture, ethics, and professional integrity. The situation also highlighted a generational shift. Hip-hop artists are no longer passive clients. They're entrepreneurs, investors, and cultural influencers. The expectation for transparency, fairness, and documentation in high-value purchases has risen. Jewelers like Johnny Dang must now navigate this landscape carefully, balancing artistry, personal relationships, and ethical business practices. Mistakes or perceived favoritism can now be broadcast worldwide instantly, with lasting reputational consequences. For Sauce Walka, the experience was transformative. Beyond the grill itself, his stand demonstrated that long-term loyalty deserves recognition and fair treatment. He also showed the power of using his platform strategically. He didn't just call out a personal grievance. He sparked an industry-wide conversation about fairness, trust, and transparency. Artists everywhere now have a blueprint for asserting themselves when navigating high-stakes business deals in the entertainment world. Johnny Dang's response to the situation reflected both humility and resilience. By publicly engaging in dialogue with Sauce, he demonstrated that even high-profile business moguls can acknowledge mistakes, restore relationships, and maintain cultural respect. For a man who built a $200 million empire from a flea market booth in Houston, this was more than a lesson in loyalty. It was a testament to adaptability and understanding the changing dynamics of hip-hop culture. Industry insiders suggest that this saga will lead to long-term changes in how hip-hop jewelers operate. Transparency in diamond sourcing, clarity in pricing, and clear documentation are becoming non-negotiable. Artists are now more likely to demand certificates, verify diamond authenticity, and seek written agreements for custom work. The old days of trust-based transactions are giving way to professional standards, ensuring that both jewelers and clients operate on a foundation of mutual accountability. Social media continues to play a critical role in this story. Fans now see behind the glitz and glamour, understanding that even multi-million-dollar empires are built on relationships that can fracture without transparency. Sauce's bold public approach proved that celebrity influence can hold businesses accountable, not just entertainers themselves. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok are now not only marketing tools, but instruments for accountability, transforming the culture of the industry in real time. But the lessons go beyond Houston or jewelry. At its core, the Sauce Walka, Johnny Dang saga is about trust, communication, and recognizing value in relationships. Whether in business, art, or personal connections, ignoring loyalty or taking it for granted can lead to public fallout. Conversely, addressing concerns with honesty and respect can restore bonds and even strengthen reputations. The public reconciliation between Sauce and Johnny serves as a cultural blueprint for resolving conflicts, demonstrating that transparency, dialogue, and accountability are key to maintaining long-term relationships. Sauce's final words during the community event were telling, "I'm here to set the standard. Not just for me, but for every artist who's ever been taken for granted. Loyalty and respect should always come first. We can demand the best and we can get it, but we have to be willing to speak up." Johnny Dang echoed this sentiment, saying, "I built my life from nothing, and every artist I worked with was part of my story." I never wanted to hurt anyone, and I'm proud we could resolve this. It's about growth, learning, and keeping Houston's legacy alive. Ultimately, the saga illustrates a shift in hip-hop culture. No longer can loyalty and trust be assumed. They must be actively nurtured and honored. The story of Sauce Walka versus Johnny Dang shows that while empires can rise from talent, hard work, and creativity, they can also face challenges when personal relationships collide with business interests. Today, both men continue to influence Houston's hip-hop scene, Johnny Dang as a legendary jeweler, maintaining high-profile clients, and Sauce Walka as a trailblazing artist and entrepreneur, setting standards for how artists demand fair treatment and respect. Their public resolution symbolizes a new era of professionalism and accountability in the music and luxury industries, where transparency is valued as highly as artistry. In the end, the saga wasn't just about a grill, diamonds, or dollars. It was about legacy, ethics, and cultural accountability. Houston learned that even decades-long relationships require honesty and mutual respect, and the hip-hop world now has a blueprint for navigating the delicate balance of loyalty, artistry, and business. This story will continue to echo in conversations about the intersection of hip-hop, luxury markets, and community values, proving that sometimes the biggest lessons come from the most unexpected feuds.